Hello and welcome to the Solo Coach Podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to those who feel called to take the path less followed. On this show, you'll find a mixture of solo and interview episodes covering all topics associated with personal development and living your best ever life. To find out more, visit thesolocoach.co.uk, @thesolocoach on Insta, or David the Solo Coach on LinkedIn. And now for this week's episode. Enjoy the show! Think of the most boring presentation that you've ever been to. The worst speaker that you've ever heard. The time that you went and you listened to something, or you were on a meeting and you were listening to the dullest, most boring, least engaging, possibly infuriating meeting or presentation. And tell me, what was it that made that presentation so bad? Was it death by PowerPoint? Was the speaker's voice just really monotonous and frustrating? Irritating even? Or could you not even understand what they were saying? Could you not understand their accent or their dialect? So hold that thought. The most terrible presentation you've ever been to, and I'm hoping that it's not today's episode of my podcast. And now think about the very best presenter you've ever heard, the best orator, the best speaker, the best presentation that you've ever witnessed, whether it was online and virtual or face-to-face. How did it make you feel? And what was going on in that presentation? What made it so good? If we met right now and I said, who's your favourite presenter and why? Who's your favourite public speaker and why? Who would you say, and what would be the reason that you chose them? Today, I'm really excited to share the topic of public speaking with you, particularly how to speak so people listen. I've had an amazing week. I've been to a presentation masterclass led by the incredible Paul McGee. I got a signed copy of his book. His latest book called How to Speak So People Really Listen. How to Speak So People Really Listen by Professor Paul McGee. He's a published author of 13 books and an internationally renowned world-class public speaker. I'm going to put a link to his website and his book in the show notes, because a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is credit to Paul. I'm not going to rip your work off, Paul, but I am going to summarise what I learned from that presentation and our incredible 8 hours together. In addition to Paul's presentation, yesterday I went to our Toastmasters district final. It was a competition of several speakers, including 3 keynote TEDx speakers over several hours, based in Liverpool. So it was quite a trek to get there from Leeds to Liverpool, but I'm pleased to say it was totally worth it, as it was a terrific day. And again, I learnt so much about speaking, speakers, presentations, how to captivate an audience, how to inspire and engage a room, and also how to listen intently to your audience and how to listen intently to your speaker and then provide an incredible evaluation with feedback that includes praise for what was done well and points for improvement. I'm a huge fan of public speaking. I love it. I so respect and look up to people who are able to inspire an audience and get their point across in a really meaningful and understandable way that makes you feel invested in their cause, even if you've only just met them. I think that is a true leadership skill. That's true communication in action, when you're not only able to thrive in a one-to-one environment, but you're able to thrive when you're speaking as one to many. And that's the point of today's episode. I want to share with you some of my key takeaways from Paul's presentation masterclass and from the TED Talk Toastmasters district final, including some TED talkers. So let's get into it. The first point I want to cover, the first key method for you to make your presentations and your meetings better, whether it's at work, in your business, or perhaps as part of a society or committee that you're involved in. Number one, it seems really obvious, but a presentation, it's about speaking to people, not at them. The best presenters I've seen, Paul absolutely is fantastic at this, and many comedians are awesome at this as well. They are masters of engaging with their audience. So straight out of the bat, when you meet them, they're asking everyone questions. Typical easy questions to start with are, so who in the room has come from this city? Who's come from outside this city? Hands up. Who's travelled internationally to get here? And it's a lovely way of breaking the ice with your audience to find out where people came from to get there today, or how far they travelled, and asking them basic questions about who they are, how they got there, how their day was going, and what they're interested in getting from the day, from the presentation. So in smaller meetings, it can be, I find it really powerful to ask people how their weekend was, how their day's going, and how the evening before went, to build rapport and to get people speaking. And a really key skill here is to ask someone a question where either everyone or most people in the room are able to give you a yes. Who came here by car? Who came here by train? Who came here by walking? Who came here by spaceship? You get the point. Because once you get people straight away giving you a hand up, giving a yes, giving a nod, it means that they straight away are engaged and more invested, and you're more easily able to get their investment and their interest because you've got a yes from them already, right? So it should, in theory, be easy to get more yeses from them. So the worst presentations I've seen and been part of are more of like a one-way webinar where you're just listening, but you feel very unseen and very unheard and unnoticed as a member of the audience. You feel like if you got up and left or just left the meeting, no one would even notice because no one's looking at you and no one acknowledges you that you're even there. So as a professional speaker, I've seen this done at Toastmasters so well. Being able to engage with your audience and find out a little more about them means that, and have a laugh with them, have some humour with them, means that straight away you've broken the ice, you develop that two-way connection, and you will then be able to take them on a journey because you've got their attention, you've captured their attention. So speaking to people, not at them, is an essential one. And again here, the key skill is in the listening to the answers and picking up on who's from where. We see this with masterful comedians. I'm thinking of Al Murray and Lee Evans and Peter Kay, how they're able to interact with the audience and then remember key critical pieces of information like people's names and where they were from, or something about them, for example, what they do for a living, as then they're able to reference them and make stories about them and connect other members in the audience in a really funny and amusing, engaging way, so that audience members feel very much sort of acknowledged and seen and heard. They feel part of the presentation. They're not just being spoken at, they are being spoken to. So if there's nothing else that you take away from today's podcast and you just stop the podcast there and never listen to another episode ever again, please, 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 please make your presentations more two-way and interactive for your audience to get involved by speaking to them and inviting them to interact, put their hands up, stand up, move around the room, or even just give you a verbal yes or no, or a nod. Who here? Nod if you are if you've been in this position before. I'm seeing a few smiles on the front row. I'm curious as to what's going on with that gentleman in the third row who's got his arms crossed and is giving me a glare. What's that all about? Have I offended you, sir? The key thing also, not being too serious. Paul's great at this. He, has such a good laugh with the crowd, and even if he's talking about a really serious topic, he'll make it more, he'll add a funny side, an amusing side to it. But the key thing, number one, speak to people, not at them. Number two, address your audience's needs. What do you mean by that, David? Let them go to the toilet? Let them have a drink? Well, yes. Yes, that's part of it. What's really powerful, what I love being on the receiving end of, is firstly a speaker who will frame the conversation, will tell me, this is what we're going to talk about over the next hour. These are the key points we're going to cover, and this is what you are going to get from the next hour. So that you're clear on what's coming and what's to look forward to. And then at the end of that hour, to be able to say, right, so this, just to recap, this is what we've gone through today. We're now going to take a 15-minute break, and when we come back, we're going to go through XYZ, having just been through ABC. So you're constantly talking about what's coming, and then you're also talking about what's just happened. You're recapping and reminding your audience. So you're taking them on a journey. You're not just talking at them continually for 8 hours or 1 hour, but you're conversing with them, and then you're framing, this is what we're going to talk about, and being able to provide them with a schedule for the day, with an agenda, if it's a whole day activity, or if it's, say, a couple of hours, so that people they know and they're aware that we're going to talk about this topic for an hour, then we're going to take a short 10-minute break, lunch break, refreshment break, whatever you need break, and then we're going to return for the last 50 minutes and we're going to talk about this, that and the other. So that people know what's coming, people feel informed, and they're aware of when they're going to get a break. Because I, for one, when I drink a lot of tea and coffee, I need to take lots of rest breaks. I won't go too far into that one. I think you know exactly what I mean. So it's always lovely to know when you've got a break coming and like the agenda for the day. In Toastmasters, every meeting has the same agenda, and yet we still get our Toastmaster at the beginning, for the sake of guests as well as members, to just run through the agenda and tell everyone this is tonight's schedule, this is what we're going to do over the next couple of hours, this is when the break will be and how long the break will be for. And it is lovely to be on the receiving end of, and it's great as a speaker, as you're able to warm into what you're about to talk about by introducing the topic, which is typically easier than then getting into the topic. And of course, yes, having breaks at key times and being aware of the fact that after lunch might not be the best time to dim the lights and put a video on when everyone's just had a big meal and perhaps feeling a little snoozy and a little dozy. Equally, telling everyone lunch is going to be at 1 and then continuing the meeting till 1:15 is really frustrating, especially when some people in the audience might be diabetic and might have to eat at 1 p.m. every day, like some of my family members do. So being respectful, attending to your audience's needs, anticipating what your audience needs will be, reading the room, seeing if people are looking a little tired and a little sleepy, and asking people, is everyone comfortable with the temperature, the lighting? Can the people at the back hear me? Can the people online see me? So anticipating your audience needs and making sure that everyone's got what they need, whether you're in a virtual space and you can do that via the chat box, or if you're in a physical place and you can do it with a show of hands and some back and forth audience interaction, which touches on point 1, speak to people, not at them. Number 1 was speak to people, not at them. Number 2 was attend to your audience's needs. So number 3, let's keep us moving. Create engaging content. What do you mean by that, David? Well, think back to that terrible presentation, that awful speak you thought of at the end. I'm going to make a bet, I'm going to predict that speaker's content wasn't very engaging. That perhaps what they did show you or didn't show you was really dull and uninteresting. Maybe it was black and white PowerPoint slides full of loads of information overload, and it had a 113 slide PowerPoint presentation. There was no interactive content, or maybe the interactive content was really distracting and words were flying in and out all over the place, and you just felt annoyed and couldn't wait to stop, to get out of that room and stop watching that frustrating presentation with too many animations in. How do we create engaging content? Well, how do we create really unengaging content is what I'd start with. Information overload, having 15 graphs on a slide, having text that you can barely see, having a little tiny picture in the middle that's never explained with no context, having colours that perhaps people who are colourblind can't see the difference between, or maybe having yellow text on a white background. It's not easy to see, never mind being engaging. Engaging content looks like slides that are not overloaded, pictures that are relevant to the topic but they invoke emotion. We could have a picture for, Paul demonstrates this wonderfully, we could have a graph of sea level rise demonstrating climate change and its impacts across the planet, or we could have a picture of some polar bears in a sea of wildflowers demonstrating this is what the future could look like when the snow and the ice has melted or is more rapidly melting than ever before, and sea level rise could look like a flooded underwater city. He also used another wonderful example talking about the effect of waste on the environment, and he had a picture of a bird caught in a plastic bag, which was tragic and heartbreaking and definitely captured every single person's attention in the room, mine included. How can you invoke your audience's emotion in your presentation? How can you bring it home and make it relevant to them? And also, how can you make your content appeal to lots of different learning styles? Some people like pictures and videos and are very visual thinkers like myself. Other people are more kinesthetic and enjoy, listening to things and how things might feel, and hearing about the kind of the touch elements of what you're talking about. So you can alter your language based around that. Other people in your audience, accommodating your audience's needs again, might be deaf, might be hard of hearing, or have difficulty with their sight, so might need certain things describing to them. It's asking your audience what they need, being conscious of who may be in your audience, and creating content that you would enjoy to see and watch yourself, that people can see clearly from the back, that is, fun and enjoyable and not all purely serious. And if it is going to be purely serious, how can you break up the seriousness? How can you intersperse lots of information with some slides that are perhaps a little bit quieter? And then another thing Paul did with his engaging PowerPoint presentation was have a clicker, and now and again he'd blank the slides. And when you blank the slides, you bring the attention back to you as a speaker, so that all eyes are then back on you, and it gives everyone a little bit of a rest from the really bright light of the PowerPoint presentation that's looking back at them. Because when you're on a virtual meeting, for example, you're typically just a little box in the top right, bottom left corner, however you've got your screen arranged. By blanking the presentation, by stopping the share for a moment, it brings the attention back to you as the speaker, and it allows your audience to take a breath of relief, to have a rest, have a pause for a moment. Even if you're not pausing for an intermission or a rest break, you're allowing your audience to you're adding punctuation to your presentation by just pausing that presentation for a moment. Or perhaps engaging content could be actually using audience engagement tools like Slido and Mentimeter, or asking people to put their answers and their thoughts in the chat. You can use breakout rooms. There's kind of So many ways you can get audiences to interact with a virtual presentation these days, with having a whiteboard, getting people to add things to the whiteboard. Like I say, Mentimeter and Slido. It's these tools where people can click on content and interact with it using their phone, so that they feel like they are participating and that their opinion and their ideas and their thoughts are welcome and are valued by the speaker. And the speaker's not just there to spam a load of information at them. The speaker is there to also hear their side of the story a little bit. Interactivity is, like I say, a key part of creating engaging content, so that your audience can and will enjoy your presentation. In Toastmasters, we talk a lot about props and use of the stage, having something physical to show everyone, that award you won, that guitar you're learning, that spade that you used when you started your first job in construction. Doesn't matter what it is, but a prop can be great for an audience, because a picture paints 1,000 words, and a prop tells you a lot about that person and their story. It brings it to life. Also, engaging with your audience. Paul did a great thing where he had 7 points to share with us, and there was roughly 7 tables in the room, so he gave each table a sealed envelope with a number in, and got each table to open up the envelope, tell him what the number was one by one, and then he'd start with that number. So if you have 7 points to make, maybe you don't need to start with point 7. Maybe you can make the process of choosing which point you're going to work on first interactive, and you can involve your audience in choosing, let's start with point 5, let's then move on to point 3, point 7, point 6, point 1, and then point 2 at the end. And people feel like they've had a say, they've had the opportunity to choose which point you're going to move on to next. So engaging content, again, is about how can you engage people. How can you also finally invoke their emotions? So you might want to make them laugh, or you might want to make them pause for thought and really reflect on something, on a point that's really deep and meaningful. I heard an amazing presentation at Toastmasters, which was a guy called Aaron Day, who was the winner of the whole Toastmasters competition on Saturday. He gave an incredible presentation, and it was about his mum's cancer journey. And I had tears welling up in my eyes throughout the whole presentation. It was so emotional. It was also so skillful and delicate and respectful, the way he handled that topic and the way he told the story. It was so real and authentic. I don't think there was a dry eye in the room, but he wasn't trying to bring us all down. He was just telling something that was so very deep and meaningful, and made you feel very connected with him and his mum. It made me feel incredibly proud of his mum and honoured to hear her story and what she's been through. Very inspired, very inspiring stuff. The audience will probably forget what you told them. People tend to forget what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. The more you can make them feel as part of your presentation, the more engaging your content will be. So number 1 was speak to people, not at them. Remember, a presentation is two-way. Number 2 was attend to your audience needs. Think, human beings have needs. How can you accommodate those needs? How can you anticipate what they might need? Number 3 was create engaging content. Number 4, address your audience main question, ideally right from the start. Every audience, in every meeting, every presentation, every speech, will be asking themselves a question. What's in it for me? Why does this matter to me? Why is this relevant to me? Many people like to know the context and the big picture, and where does this fit into the big picture, kind of visionary thinkers. Other people want to know the detail, they want to know the facts and the figures, and no matter how many questions you answer, they will have just as many still that they'll want an answer to. How can you, in a nutshell, at the beginning of your presentation, let people know why this information is relevant to them, why it matters to them, what's in it for them, and what they are going to get from it? Today, the point of today's podcast episodes is to show you how you can be a better public speaker, a better presenter, and how you can speak so that people listen, how you can get your voice heard and your thoughts and your ideas across in a way that will be more likely to land with, resonate with, and be remembered and acted on by your audience. Because public speaking is such an incredible skill. I'm very excited about it, as you can tell. If you can address your audience's question, they'll be more invested, they'll be more interested, they'll be more engaged right from the start because it's relevant to them and they know why they're there. If you can't answer the question as to why they're there, then I'd ask you, why are they there? Do they need to be in the room? If you've got 50 people in the room but actually you only really need 5, by respecting your audience, by respecting other people's time, you'll gain more respect yourself. I find people treat you like you treat them. It's the law of reciprocity. You get what you give. If you're dragging people into a meeting and you underneath feel this is a waste of time and probably only need 5 out of these 50 people here, then I would question that and I would implore you to reassess why you're dragging all those people into that room if you don't really need them there. And if you do need them there, tell them why they're there. Tell them why it matters. Tell them why it's relevant. And then you stand half a chance at them being engaged all the way till the end, hopefully. Number 4, address your audience's main question, what's in it for me? And respect them as part of that as well. You're respecting their question of what's in it for me. And you're also respect their time. If you want people to respect your time, you've got to start by respecting their time. Don't keep it going longer than it needs to be. Don't extend it. Don't keep them there longer than they need to be there. Just because it's an hour slot perhaps doesn't mean you need to keep them there for a whole hour. If the meeting's done and finished in 45 minutes and everyone said what they need to do and you have answers to what questions you had as the presenter and they have answers to their questions, then end the meeting. Respect people's time. Answer their question of what's in it for me. Number 5, bringing us to a close here. The 5th and final one I want to share with you is start and finish strong. The first 90 seconds of your presentation and the last 90 seconds are what's most important for your audience and most important for you. So I heard from Toastmasters that people formulate their impression of you, what they think about you, in half a second. Half a second on average is how long it takes people to formulate an opinion about you. And then 15 minutes is how long it takes on average for an employer to figure out whether they want to hire you or not in an interview. They've most likely made that decision within the first 15 minutes, perhaps even less than that. It isn't much time to make a first impression, and your first 90 seconds are going to be key for getting people's buy-in, getting them listening, getting them wanting to be there and interested, curious, intrigued. And those last 90 seconds are so important because that's what they go away with. That's what they're going to take away from the meeting. Paul's number 1, do not. His number 1, this is the thing to avoid, folks, is do not end on questions. But we all do it. Any questions? It's an easy last slide. Any questions? Questions, please. I'll take some questions at the end. The problem is, if you've captivated your audience, you've captured them, you've got them, their hearts and minds, and you have inspired them and engaged them and motivated them, and they're thinking, wow, this is incredible, but then you end on questions that bring the whole mood in the room down and make everyone feel depleted and depressed. For those on audio, I'm melting down out of the video size. That's the worst thing you can do, because then people will leave the presentation on a massive downer and be like, oh, Angela's question, Rob's question, Mo's question, oh, why did Anita have to ask that? It's all of that good work, all of that hard effort has potentially been ruined and jeopardised by some terrible question and answer sessions at the end. Maybe it was nothing to do with your answers, because maybe the questions asked weren't relevant to your presentation, and they weren't relevant, but they were relevant to something else that made everyone feel defeated and sad and miserable and depressed. So don't do it. In a nutshell, Paul took questions throughout the day and invited questions throughout the day, but he never ended anything on questions. If you have to end on questions, do this. This is Paul's trick, Paul McGee's trick. I credit you, Paul. This is your work. It's amazing. I'm going to do it myself. Pre-prepare someone in the room to have the last question, and the last question should be this. David, what's the key thing that I should take away from today's presentation? If you want us to remember one thing from today, what is that? And then the key thing is the attention comes back to you and you are able to have the final say. You're able to have the final word and ensure that people go away hearing your key message once more, hopefully feeling elevated, inspired, engaged, motivated and all the rest of it, lots of the feel goods, so that they take away your key message. Because public speaking is a two-way conversation, and the last thing we want people to do is go away feeling anything other than inspired and engaged and motivated and informed and fantastic after your fantastic presentation or meeting. So in conclusion, ending this meeting on a high, the 5 things you can do to ensure that when you speak, people listen. We must speak to people, not at them. Number 1, speak to them, not at them. It's a two-way conversation. Number 2, attend to your audience's needs, and if you can, anticipate your audience needs beforehand. Number 3, create engaging content. Create engaging content that captures their hearts and minds and doesn't just bore them to sleep. Number 4, address your audience's main question as soon as you can. What's in it for me? Number 5, start and finish strong. The start of your presentation, the end of your presentation are the 2 most important parts. Ensure that you start and you finish on a massive high. Thank you very much for listening. I've been David. This has been the Solo Coach Podcast. I'll see you again in a future episode. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Solo Coach Podcast. I've been your host, David Garwood, and you've been my fabulous listener. If you'd like to find out more, check out thesolocoach.co.uk, @thesolocoach on Insta, and David the Solo Coach on LinkedIn. And if you enjoyed the episode, I would love for you to leave a comment or a review and tell me what you enjoyed most about this week's episode. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.